You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
As Robert Palmer said, Doctor, give me the news. I got a bad case of loving you. No pill's gonna cure my ill. Got a load and a case of loving you. That's Robert Palmer, and we've got the Doc, Dr. Ben Fordham, on the line from Sydney, Australia. Welcome, Doc.
Morning, gang. Would you believe me if I told you that there are police officers in my office at the moment?
Oh, no, what, sniffer dogs?
No sniffer dog.
What, something
no
you've
sniffer dog, Sam.
Something
Although I do have drugs on me right now. Look, I've got Zyrtec hay fever tablets, so I don't know whether the dogs detect that. But no, I've just had a visit from some of our finest from the New South Wales Police Force. They're doing a bit of a tour of our radio station here, 2GB, so they're just dropping by to say good day, and we love the boys and girls in blue.
I thought it might have been because you broke a story about the Prime Minister.
Oh, the mansion on the cliff top.
Well, how I suppose anyone can afford to do that. We worked out how the Prime Minister has been able to secure that particular piece of real estate.
Well, he's on a very attractive package when it comes to his retirement, because he's been in Parliament long enough that he gets the gold standard handshake when he leaves, as opposed to some of the more recent parliamentarians. But yeah, it's one of those stories, Sam, that when I broke the story about Albo's $4.3 million clifftop mansion, I knew that it would be a story that would be covered by media outlets around the country. It was on the front page of every newspaper in Australia the following day. But the funny thing is I don't have an issue with it. And I said that when I first broke the story. I said, look, if you've worked hard and saved hard and invested well, then good luck to you. But I knew, 7 months out from an election, a cost of living election, with housing being one of the key issues, I knew that this would go off like a bomb. And I think we broke it at about 7:10 last Tuesday morning. And it only took about 15 minutes until news alerts started popping up from various other media outlets, from the Daily Telegraph to Sky News and the Sydney Morning Herald and everyone else. And by the end of last week, it felt like everyone in the country had an opinion on Albo's house.
Well, the lack of self-awareness is palpable, Doc. I mean, good on him, and but to do that on the just on the start of an election campaign. Is there a start of an election? When is he up his term?
No, well, it's on now. I mean, we're in election mode now. You're right about that, Sam. And then they'll officially fire the starters gun at some stage next year. I think we're going to be going to the polls in May. Look, never doubt the power of love. Anthony Albanese's in love with his fiancée, Jodie Hayden. And I've got some sympathy for him when it comes to making a purchase like this, because the home that we're living in, when I went to look at it years ago, I was given a budget by my accountant, and when I turned up, Sam, there were 100 people standing in the backyard all wanting to bid on this property. So I said to the accountant, look, I think I need an extra 100 grand as far as spending money is concerned. Of course, it's all the bank's money, apart from a little bit that I had. And then I ended up spending $400,000 over my budget. Again, the bank's money, not mine. But the reason I did that is because Jodie was pregnant with our second child, Pearl. It ticked all of the boxes of what Jodie wanted. She wanted practical things like to be able to see the backyard from the kitchen space, no steps up and down into the backyard so that toddlers can easily walk inside and outside. And so when I saw what I wanted, all common sense went out the window, and I just kept on bidding until I got it. So I've got some sympathy for the Prime Minister, but then again, I'm not the Prime Minister. I'm not trying to be re-elected. I'm not now struggling to win news poll against Peter Dutton. I'm not coming off the back of a horror year after the voice to Parliament that went pear-shaped. So that's the issue that the Prime Minister's got. That's why some of his Labor colleagues were angry about it, because they felt that if he had to put the team first, he would have said to his fiancée, listen, we're going to get the election out of the way and then we can purchase a property. There's also a perception, Sam, that it looks like a bit of a retirement plan, and people are wondering, well, is Albo worried that he's not going to have a job beyond May next year?
Doc, so I make the point, we're not carping. I'm not carping at the Prime Minister. He's quite entitled to do that. But the timing of that, surely he would have thought this is probably not a good look. And is there any way we can say we're going to buy the property? Could you just put it on hold? We'll give you an assurance. I don't know how someone else could buy it under a different. I don't know, but just the optics of that are extraordinary when you consider all the things that you just said. And this, he is quite entitled, and good on him, and anyone can buy. So I'm not saying he shouldn't do it, but it is the optics of that are extraordinary, I reckon.
Well, do you know how long this property had been on the market? It had been on the market for 344 days. So for almost a year, no one bought it. So you could have argued to Albo, if I was his mate, I'd say, listen, mate, no one's bought it in a year. Chances are no one's going to buy it in the next 7 months, and there's always going to be another home that you can buy. I'm conflicted on it like you, Sam, because I can understand him wanting to be his own man, make an individual decision, look after his fiancée, his future wife. But I can also understand Labor politicians who are thinking, hey, mate, you caused us the headache from hell last year. We've got through this year relatively unscathed compared to the year before, and now you drop this bombshell on us, a few months out from Christmas. It's not good for the Labor Party.
No, I couldn't agree with you more, Doc, and you've become you are a national star, but you've been the clickbait for the nation, and probably it'll go overseas as well.
Without pissing in my own pocket, I'd say I reckon there's an argument that this would be the biggest political scoop of 2024. I can't think of another story that has been covered so comprehensively by every other media outlet, and has even made news overseas.
Could you divulge your sources, Doc?
Well,
how did you know about this?
I told you some time ago that my friend Don Scott was working on a secret project.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. It's got Don Scott's fingerprints all over it.
Don might have been riding in an Estetford up there and just happened to be next to the property, and he thought, I'll just go and have a look at this joint. And someone said, oh, no, don't come too close. Anthony Albanese, is looking at buying this, and Don put 2 and 2 together and got about 100.
I'll tell you how I confirmed the news. I texted the real estate ad to the Prime Minister with one word: congratulations. And 3 minutes later, my phone rang, and it was him. Oh. And I said, congratulations to you. I spent a bit of time up on the New South Wales coast as well. So we were talking about Copacabana and Avoca and Terrigal and surrounding areas. And then he said, are you thinking about broadcasting this? And I said, yeah, I am. And he said, when are you thinking of doing it? And I said, I'm thinking about doing it tomorrow morning, Prime Minister. And he said, is there any way we could hold off for a little while?
Oh,
and
did
I said, No, there's not. No, I said, mate, it won't hold. It's going to be one of the biggest talking points around Copacabana. There's no way in the world that this news is going to hold, so I will be doing it tomorrow morning. Credit.
Yep.
Yeah, go on.
So he must have absolutely realised this is an extraordinarily ill-timed thing to do if he's asking you to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know his reasons, but he said, would you be able to hold off for a week? Keep in mind, the day that I was planning on breaking it, he was making a housing announcement. So he might have been thinking to himself, the timing of this is just terrible. He might also have been considering the fact that he's trying to sell an investment property at the moment in Sydney. And 3 days before I broke the story, they pulled that property at auction because they didn't have a buyer at the price the PM wanted. So he might have been thinking, well, it's going to be harder to sell my investment property if people know that I've just splashed out $4+ million on a clifftop mansion up on the coast. But for whatever reason, he said, is there a possibility you could hold off for a week? I said no. I broke it the next morning at 10 minutes past 7. And about 11 a.m. that morning, 4 hours after I broke it, he called again. And I thought, here we go. Am I about to cop a serve or a spray here? Or is he going to reject my price that I revealed? Because I had the price as well, 4.3. But to his credit, he called and he said, look, I'm just calling to say thank you for giving me a heads up the night before. It gave me an opportunity to talk to Jody about it, and I appreciate you giving me advanced warning. So I thought that was very decent of him.
Well, two extraordinary things, Doc. A, the naivety of the Prime Minister to think that you would hold it or it wouldn't get out, or he's trying to sell an investment property and he didn't. And secondly, the amazing thing is that you've got an open line and on a day-to-day chatting basis with the Prime Minister.
Well, certainly not day to day, and we've gone through periods where we haven't communicated all that often. He didn't appreciate some of the interviews that I did with him last year about The Voice. One of those interviews earlier in the year was described as a train wreck by Peter Dutton, and he couldn't answer basic questions about what The Voice was going to look like or sound like or how it was going to work. So we've gone through periods of not talking or communicating too much, and I don't bother him. It's not like I go sending him regular messages. I only message him if I've got a reason to do so.
Did you tell us, you did very, very good job of sidestepping my question. Did you tell us how you found out he was buying that property?
No.
No, I thought you didn't, Doc, as a matter of fact. So I ask again, were you alerted? Did someone say you might want to investigate this or what?
All right, well, I'll tell you this, Sam. This is a scoop for You Cannot Be Serious. It did not come from a political source. My mum has got a house up at Avoca Beach, which is about 10 minutes from Copacabana. As you know, because I often speak to you from there when I'm on furlough, as you put it, when I'm on the Central Coast.
Yes.
So I spend a lot of time up there. That means I know a lot of people up there. I go to the coffee shop in the morning and I sit down and have a coffee with the Avoca Beach Coffee Club, which is some mates of mine up there, Andrew, who's a plumber, and Wal, who's a lawnmower man, and a few other people who are based on the coast. I'm not saying that either of those two told me, but it was someone up at Copacabana
was your
who
mother,
suggested I should look at it.
Mrs. Fordham broke this. She told you.
It wasn't the big kahuna. No, it was just an unnamed source on the Central Coast. But I'll tell you what,
hang on, Doc. So you have coffee with all these people. So someone at the coffee shop said, by the way, did you know or do you realise? And then that person who was told that then said to you, because you know them, the gardener or the mower man or the bloody whoever, the plumber, and he said, Doc, you might be interested in this. I was just told, having a coffee.
Correct.
That's how it happened.
Correct. And in fact, I can read you the text message. What I'll do, I won't name them, but you're getting it out of me. So you're chipping away, and I'll tell you, because you never reveal your sources, because otherwise, people aren't going to trust you in the future when they share information with you.
Read the text out and tell us who sent it.
Okay, this is the text message.
From the plumber.
It said, where is it? Here we go. Hi, mate. Apparently, Albo's just exchanged on a $4.3 million property at Copacabana.
That's from the plumber or the lawnmower man.
From someone. I wrote back, how do you know? He said, a guy I know just told me. I'm not sure how to verify it. I said, thanks, mate, I'll chase it.
Oh.
And the rest is history.
You've got sources in every nook and cranny of the planet, mate. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, well, that's what we do.
And speaking of extraordinary, having sources and contacts, you interviewed, did you not, Kate Winslet?
I interviewed Kate Winslet this morning about a new film that she's got called Lee, and she was charming as all hell. She was a lovely, lovely person to talk to. She was, of course, in Titanic and a whole lot of other movies. And how about this? Isabella Marr, who is a producer who works with me on our breakfast show here at 2GB, she said, hey, listen, you should ask Kate about a bit of a rumour at the end of the interview. And I said, yeah, what's the rumour? And she said, well, the rumour is that when she won her Oscar, she was trying to work out where she would store it. So she decided to put it in the bathroom at home so that when guests used the bathroom and while they were washing their hands, they had the opportunity to hold the Oscar, to make an Oscars speech into the mirror and to take a photo with the Academy Award. And sure enough, she said, that's a true story. So, she was great to be able to catch up with. And the other thing we should mention, Sam, before I run, only because I've got to get to a meeting at the National Rugby League today, but the King and Queen's visit, hasn't that been overwhelmingly positive apart from Lydia Thorpe?
I had a chat to Greg Evans just before about Lydia Thorpe, and that is just. I said I think it was fantastic what Lydia did, because that will just reinforce in everyone's mind that people like that should never be in charge of anything in the name of running this country. I thought she did a fantastic job to knife herself in the back.
Yeah, well, the other drama for Lydia Thorpe is that when the King and Queen arrived in Canberra, they were welcomed by an Indigenous elder, Auntie Violet. She welcomed them. So it is totally disrespectful for some outsider from Victoria, Lydia Thorpe, to then stomp all over the welcome mat when an Indigenous leader in that area had welcomed them to Canberra. But you know what? The mob will always work these people out, and the mob's decided that they love the King and the Queen. I don't know whether we'll always remain with the monarchy or whether we'll become a republic, and I won't lose too much sleep either way. But I think that there's something to be said for having someone offshore who's our head of state, someone who can't get involved in the day-to-day activities, because you'll often hear people to say, why doesn't the Governor-General sack the Prime Minister? Or, and obviously we had the dismissal with Gough Whitlam, but we don't want a situation where we're arguing constantly over who should be the state. Under the current system, we know who it is. It's the King or the Queen of England.
Now, I must just ask you quickly, Doc, before you go, have you caught up with the Greater West Sydney, their end of season and the extraordinary broadcast to the nation of Andrew Dillon, the head of the AFL? Did you hear that?
I didn't hear Andrew Dillon's
Well, you
address.
You listen to Andrew Dillon, the most cringeworthy nonsense I've ever heard. If ever you could say someone's taken themselves and the organisation seriously, it was unbelievable. It was like the Nuremberg war trials. You'd think that they'd committed genocide in Blacktown or wherever the GWS is situated. It was extraordinary.
Yeah, well, I was actually at the pub last Friday where all of this went down. It's the Woolloomooloo Bay Hotel on the foreshore there of Sydney Harbour, and I was in there for a gathering, and we were trying to work out what room these events happened in. And look, some of the reactions seem over the top about people dressing up as Ray Gun or someone putting on a fancy dress outfit. Sadly, someone thought it was a good idea to dress up as the World Trade Center towers. That was obviously a disastrous decision and just a dumb one. And I don't know why people feel the need to dress up like this. It seems to be an AFL thing more than NRL. Yeah. Some of the NRL boys do it, but it seems like at every Mad Monday or Wacky Wednesday or end of year gathering, the AFL players all want to dress up as, Super Mario or Barbie or whatever. Why can't you just go to the pub with your mates and have a beer?
But that's fair enough, Doc. But what does it matter if you dress up in the spirit of revelry and merriment, a little bit of satire, a little bit of seriously, and dressing up as the World Trade Center? They're not laughing at the people, the 3,000 odd people. They're just saying. They're probably just saying, we laughed at people who live in caves but are smart enough to get in an aeroplane and fly them into there. I don't know what they're... But it is free speech, and it just seems that the AFL, you couldn't believe the speech Andrew Dillon gave. You would think, honestly, that it was the United Nations and they'd dropped a bomb on Hiroshima. It was unbelievable.
Hey, guess who I had a drink with last weekend?
Oh, well...
Andrew Dillon.
Did you?
He was in the director's room at Royal Randwick on Saturday for the Everest horse race. Peter V'landys and Andrew Abdo were there, the boss of rugby league, and Andrew Dillon was there as well. So I had a bit of a conversation with him. I actually took a photo of him and Peter V'landys and Andrew Abdo. I didn't really have a deep and meaningful with him. We didn't talk about Greater Western Sydney, but I met your boss of the AFL on the Saturday that we've just gone past.
I said I would never resign from the organisation. Yeah, I would be very close to disassociating myself from the AFL. You listen, please, Doc. Just get the announcement at the press conference. You listen to it, and next time we speak, or you can text me, say, mate,
sure.
That is so over the top. I said that, and I said I would never resign, but that's the most cringeworthy nonsense I've ever heard. But
I'll be listening to that, and I'll be talking to you in a couple of weeks, and I want to say Love to the whole family at You Cannot Be Serious. Love talking to you, Sam, and we'll check in a couple of weeks.
You star, Doc. All the best, my friend.
If you need a $4.3 million house, let me know.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll find out before I've even signed the thing with your contacts, the lawnmower man and the plumber. And your mother.
Good on you, mate.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you soon.